The way to the celestial city ran directly through Vanity, where this lively fair was located. Those that desired to go to the celestial city and yet avoid going to this town would have to leave the world. The King of Kings himself, when traveling in this region, passed through Vanity on his way to his own country. It was a time when the fair was in full operation. I believe it was Beelzebul, the chief ruler of the fair, who invited him to buy some of his vanities, and he would have made him the lord of the fair if he would have only worshipped him as he went through the town. Because the king was such an honorable person, Beelzebub led him from street to street and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a short time, so that he might, if possible, lure the Blessed One to lower himself and buy some of his vanities. But the king had no desire for any of the merchandise, and therefore left the town without spending so much as 1 penny on any of these worthless things. As you can see, this was a very old and well-established fair, and a very renowned fair at that. Now, as I said, it was necessary for Christian and faithful to pass through the fair in order to reach the celestial city. But as they entered the fair, a loud and raucous crowd drew around them and became disturbed by the two men. This happened for several reasons. First, both Christian and faithful were dressed quite differently from the attire of those at the fair. The people just stared at them, calling them fools, lunatics, and strange men. Secondly, just as the crowd wondered at their clothing, they were also curious about their speech, since few could understand what they said. Naturally, Christian and faithful spoke the language of those following the Lord God Almighty, but the men running the fair only spoke the language of the world. From one end of the fair to the other, Christian and faithful seemed almost barbaric to those in the town. Thirdly, and this especially disturbed the merchants, these pilgrims placed such little value on all the merchandise being sold. They did not care so much as to even look at them. And if someone called upon them to buy, they would put their fingers in their ears, look upward, and cry, "Turn my eyes away from looking at these worthless things," signifying that their trade and commerce were in heaven. One merchant observed their strange behavior and mocked them, saying, "What do you want to buy?" But they looked at him seriously and said, "We buy the truth." This response just made the men of the fair despise Christian and faithful even more. Some mocked, some taunted, and some slandered them, while others suggested they should be beaten. This all led to a great uproar, creating a state of confusion at the fair. Word spread quickly to the governor of the fair, who came down and appointed some of his most trusted advisors to interrogate the men responsible for almost destroying the fair.